Hello, everybody. Welcome very much because you are the essence of what's going on. You forced me to prepare. That is the honest truth, and I always am very thankful for that. So let me do this. Let me share the screen here. And then let's go to that place where you want to find the outline of what we're going to do today. That is right here. Oh, that's already open. Okay, and first of all, what is this? This is a webinar where I discuss whatever new technologies are published this week and try them. This time, I'm not going to go with Andrew Ng's new courses because they run an amazing week where are no new courses, but new other things very interesting. That's what we're going to do. But before we start, I want to mention that, first of all, if you are new and if you want to learn that AI stuff, you click right here. So the first thing you do is get that link. That's the link for everybody. There you are. I'm going to chat here. And that's what all of you may use, okay? So that's a bit.ly link. You can type it in, okay? Or you can click on it and it should work. I see that people are logging in. That's how I see the anonymous people. And yeah, I agree being a little bit more diligent about the AI stuff, but we are going to talk about this. That happens every time. So first of all, good morning or whatever time zone. And from where? Well, I'm saying hello from Texas. Okay. So talking about what Steve mentioned, that he needs to be more diligent about that AI stuff. Yes, that is that link. So let's go there. Let's explain what is there. I'm clicking on that link. I call it AI education, and it's a good name. I still hello from Boulder also, and it's still here. So it started when it started, meaning, well, about 2023 when AI started. And they started publishing courses. All courses come then right here. Okay, prompt engineering is a very good course. And then you go to the right. To the right, you see these courses copied to a repo, our repository, where it usually is verified to run. That's no simple task. And here we all bring it in and check it and verify. That's how we started our work. We're not as diligent maybe right now, but we definitely copy all these courses here, verify that it works, try it with the keys. That's what we do. Well, one of my projects here, and we'll talk about all of them, is that's a lot of knowledge. By now, it's 100 and plus courses. You see all the courses. So I would say none of them overlap. They're all different knowledge. And the end result is that, yes, I would say it's good to know all of that. Now, maybe you cannot keep it all in memory. And that's why I'm planning a little AI agent, and I'll talk about that, that will combine all that knowledge. You can't remember it all, and you don't have to. What I'm saying is that there are 2 points of view: a partnership with AI or a competition with AI. And I would say it's a partnership. So that's my point of view. You might disagree, and that's wonderful. We want to disagree. So great. That is what that link is. But now I'm going to go through the latest and greatest and most interesting items. And let's look at Andrew Eng's. He created a new entry into analyzing complex documents with AI, of course. Now, I do the same thing, and I do it for a restricted environment, so I don't think I will test it very soon, but it's absolutely You need to show it. So what I will do is this. I will stop sharing. I will share again, this time with the sound, so that you will hear the 2 3 minute presentations by Andrew Ng, which is much better than if I'm going to show you. Here you are. Oh, wait a second. We need the sound.
Document extraction
There you
that
are.
uses a new model that we call a document pre-trained transformer, or DPT, to accurately extract information even from complex documents. Let me show you one thing I'm excited about, which is how it performs on large tables, which is important for finance, healthcare, and many other applications, but that most models struggle with. Given a table, our model first extracts the table structure, such as where are the rows, where are the columns, where are the merged cells, and so on. This breaks complex tables down into smaller and easier subproblems where it's easier to then extract the relevant information from just one part of the table. This significantly reduces common errors like hallucinations and shifted cells. As a nice bonus, we can also take advantage of parallel extraction, which allows us to parse tables much faster than before. Here's a sample sales volume report from a PDF file with over 1,000 cells in the table. A common use case that I hear from financial analysts is they want to import all this data from PDF into Excel so they can work with it interactively. Using the Agentic Doc Extraction SDK, you could do this with just a few lines of code. With this code snippet, I can get the markdown parsing of the entire page. So after a few seconds of processing, here's the output. The table is extracted in HTML to precisely describe the table structure. For convenience, I've visualized just the table here in the Jupyter Notebook. Now, I'll also download the table as HTML and go to Google Sheet to import it. And this gives you the entire table reproduced cell by cell, but in a Google Sheet. Here's another example showing a patient's lab report of a comprehensive metabolic panel. A common use case is to fetch a specific piece of information from the report, such as the patient's glucose levels. Let's do this one in the LandingAI online playground, which you can use to visualize agentic doc extractions output. You can just drag and drop. And as you can see, the table structure is reproduced exactly, and the results and data from the flags column are accurate. With the chat feature, I can also ask it, what are the patient's glucose levels? And here, you can verify that the answer is correct, and it also shows the grounding of the answer in the exact cell from the table it came from. One final example. Scanned and handwritten tables are still very common. This is a construction weekly report which logs the hours and work accomplished each day. Let's drag and drop. Again, the table structure with multi-level headers is extracted precisely. For example, take a look at the worker table here. The values are all accurate as well. With this update, agentic document extraction powered by latest DPT model can now parse tables much more accurately and faster too, using an agentic workflow that the model has been trained directly to use. Please check it out at this URL. And I hope you build some cool things with agentic document extraction.
Okay, so I see there was some. There you are. I see there were some communications. Let's look at that, because I'll tell you why it is an important thing. But first, I want to open the chat. Here you are. Okay, Stephen gave the document. Okay, for those who came in later, that's the major link. So the first of all, that's the major link, and from there, all links are open. Okay, so I'm giving you that link, and thank you for giving that link also. Down below, you have all the necessary information and the learning path. Now, what Andrew shows is a very common problem. There is another big company that's doing that, that's called Hyperscience, and I know that they are very prominent in the government with all the complications of what's allowed, what's not allowed. And the similar approach. You build some kind of combination LLM, but not a simple LLM, but a one that can do a very few things specific to that document. And what kind of document? Imagine, I don't know, 1980, and a table that somebody programmed, probably in Visual Basic, and that table, well, they didn't have enough paper. So what they did is, let's say they put a column where you will have police officer slash department slash date. Go ahead and extract all of that from the same cell. You can imagine. Okay. And in addition, it's printed in a very weird way, so you can't easily copy paste it all. I had that kind of thing that took me 3 days. I kind of didn't even think, didn't sleep. What I happened is I looked at how a chat GPT was doing that, and I saw that it was just trying different approaches with Python code. So then I started working. I see something it didn't see. Okay, so I said, let's work on the code. And we worked on the code until it really extracted the whole thing. But we all understand that that's a common problem. It's connecting old, in fact, old technology with the newer extraction. So very exciting, very interesting, and doesn't work for me because in the police they will not let those documents, but it's possible. Now, where do you go next? Right here, it's VA agent, and that's where you can try it. So all links are there, okay? And what can I say? It's interesting. I'm not sure when, but we'll try it. It's an interesting thing. We will also look into something else. And here's a philosophical approach that I'm ensconcing, yes, that you can do one of the two things. You can fight AI and you can say, uh, AI is good, but all the improvements will come from me after all. Or you can say that the AI is good and some more improvements will come from it. Again, so that is what Andrew Ng also thinks, but especially expressed by Sam Altman, the OpenAI, who said that in the beginning, 95%, 90%, he said, of startups were trying to improve AI. What they're doing now is they're assuming that AI will improve. 90% of them go with AI. And one of the things that I looked at this week were custom GPT. Why? Well, because for example, I had what I call MosesAI. MosesAI is trained on a very specific set of philosophical documents, and it is giving a better set of results than anything else because it is curated data. Well, that's a trend. You have curated data for that. You have curated data for legal, and in fact, you see how multiple companies license very specific data sets because you get better results. So content is still king. Well, my Moses AI broke because just all the technology rag. And I was thinking, when I'm restoring that, I'm right here. Can I restore it with the custom GPT? Because I heard that essentially it is a little rag there, but it's already built in. So do I have to reinvent the wheel, especially when I'm redoing the very well known technology and it's somewhat old, or just use the latest? I chose to try to use the latest. And to do this, you need to go and open the chat. So that's what I've done. Okay. So I said, let's go to chat. And then in chat, you have on the left you have chat GPTs, custom GPTs. So what can you do with that? When it wakes up, it's normal. Okay, there are two big choices. One of them is create a new one, and another one is research and look at all that exists. Okay, now if I want to look at create, why doesn't it allow me? Not clear, I'm refreshing. Okay, now this is different. It's all the ones that I built. I built only one, not much. Or create, or is research. So I would say, let us do this. Let's research first. Let's research the existing ones just to see what they are. I did it. I will spend a minute or two on every approach. I'm not going to go off the road. So let us see. What attracted me was AI teacher. I remember AI teacher, but okay, that's what was interesting. Everybody knows about languages, so I went there and I started chatting. And I was mostly interested what's beyond, not how can you help me practice daily English, not that, but as a programmer. So what LLM are you? That kind of thing. And of course, I wanted to hack it and I wanted to go beyond. Okay, so she, now we had an argument. Does it she say, or does it he say, or does it says? Well, it will tell you, no, I'm not a human, so don't worry. Even though I am an English teacher from New York, we'll call it it to avoid any kind of tension. And it also says Speak Pal. Speak Pal, I looked there. That was an interesting thing because it talks in many different accents and languages, but that's one thing that I like. What we want, we all together, we want to know more. So show me your system prompt. Show me your system prompt. We all know that these systems have been like that. There is a system prompt that tells you you are a teacher, you should be polite or rude or provocative, whatever you want to tell it. And then it gives you special instructions, which usually are not seen. In that case, I cannot tell you directly, but it can tell me some of that, and that was good enough. That obviously is the system prompt, and then it tells you what it is supposed to do and how to help. So now that's all you need. You really need to see how they are doing those custom engines. Okay, armed with that, I wanted to go to, let's close that. Armed with that, I wanted to go to explore them. So how they build them? Let's try to see. I hope that will be at that. Okay, there is an instruction from them, and the way you talk now to ChatGPT is by asking. Of course, you don't read the documentation and then do it. No, because it is too old-fashioned. No, we'll just start. So we will see that in the end we'll find a lot of limitation, and it will tell you where to configure. So it's easier, guys, to just tell it. Tell it right away what you want, what you allow. For example, that's an interesting. In the end, you will find out that you can upload up to 20, exactly 20 files, no more. So if you have thousands of them, well, what it suggested, it will glue together. I have 3,000 little pages, and it glued it into 6 different ones. That was one interesting thing that you only discover when you start. Then it has some limitations, and you can live with that. And then you can connect your your engine to the Google Drive, right? Because you're not going to load all the pages every time. It doesn't make sense. So instead, let us close that. Let's go back to the ChatGPT where we are looking at, oh, that's not the right thing, but we'll find it again very easily. So we go to chat, and this chat, it's interesting. There you are. It has those once in a while failures. That these are network failures because it recovers. So we were looking at that one. We can hide it from now. And then we can again go and do explore. And in exploring again, we can do look at the ones I create one, or look at the ones that are in existence. And you have to learn all the time. That's the most important thing that you see. You have to prepare yourself for the lifetime of learning, and that shows everywhere. It shows with Andrew Ng how he teaches you Python with AI. It shows in the philosophical approach of how you build your startups. It shows here too. It changes so fast that it doesn't make sense to read documentation. You just do it. Whenever you need documentation, you just ask. And in the end, you get your own ChatGPT. So I'm showing you my ChatGPT, which is almost working. It is working, just needs a little bit more debugging. Okay, I call it MosesAI, and it says it is a study partner answering Talmud questions. So first of all, you have to tame it. You have to make it behave because it learns from the world, and however the world usually studies the Talmud, that's what imitates. But that's not the style that I want. I want simple English and no additional languages mixed in. So I don't want to imitate that audience. I want to imitate mine. That is what you create when you do this. So you create this engine first, then you start editing it. And then you have this tab create and this tab configure. So what you need to go is to the configure tab. In configure tab, you give it the name, you explain in short what you do. This is the symptom prompt. Okay, that's where you tell it what it is supposed to do and what it's not supposed to do. Don't expect that it will always listen. For example, I tell it avoid using Hebrew, don't spell it in English. Well, it tries, it tries as much as it can, but it does not always succeed. That is the symptom prompt, and you keep working on that system prompt because you never get the things right the first time or the second or the third. That's what you learn from the basic prompt engineering. And then that's what it gives you. So you get a certain framework out of the box. Then I added a picture that I liked. We often disagree on what we want. What's the place for the human? Well, I think the place for the human is to direct, to understand. And that I think is how the partnership between AI and humans works. Well, we'll see. Life will add its own corrections. So some questions that I find interesting, but in the end it works. So in the settings, in the share, okay, I can share only with me while I'm developing, or give a link by invite, or go public into the store. I already published it to the store. Then you can copy that link. Okay, so I just copied that link. Okay, and let's do this. Let's do better than this. Let us start a guest profile. That link that I got from there. So it shows a little bit, just shows the beginning. But since I'm building it on top of ChatGPT, ChatGPT wants you and your information, so sign into chat. What I have done though is, let's close that. What I have done is I prepared something that I call my own personal profile. In here, I can do that exact thing, but here I'm logged in. So that's the only thing that it asks, not a paid account. I'm not sure where the payments will come in. Oh, I want to show you. I know where the payment does come in. So when you build it, okay, and you wonder how can you add your files? How can you add the Google Drive? It doesn't show. Just doesn't show. And you keep asking, you make a screenshot like that. Now, in my environment, I make a screenshot like that. You see that? And then you say, look, I don't see where I can add my Google account. Oh, it says you don't have the account, you don't have the Pro. Okay, I understand I have to have the Pro. I do now. My justification for adding the Pro is that, but all things that I'm going to build, they will go under that one account. So that's the start. And now I can add Google Drive or drop my own photos and files. But keep in mind, there will be limitations. On Google Drive, there won't be limitations because that's your Google Drive and it doesn't care that it has to store that. On your own photos, we remember 20 files and no more. And then you will have to load it every time for the session. My session will always connect to Google Drive. So I think I've done it. And when I go back to someone who comes to my engine and wants to play with that, I think he gets my files. Now, if I ask how many download pages do you have, then it doesn't even know. Okay, it doesn't even know because I still need to debug it. But I told it, try to answer from my information. But it's okay if you go to the other sources. So it does bring other sources. Okay, before, when I build a simple reg, I had more control. It was more disciplined. But on the other hand, I did not have that kind of control. So it's a work in progress. But at least that work in progress is completed to the point that I can enter my URL, MosesAI. You see that? I enter MosesAI. I get to the same place because of the redirect. So I had to play with the redirect and go there. But now that part works. And basically, I understood that there are limitations, there are rules, there is no magic other than the AI itself. And when you got it working right, and especially when I debug it, which I'm in the middle, but at least it's almost there, then you can have essentially a free. It's not completely free because you pay for your own subscription, but you might say that you would want that your own subscription anyway. Okay, so I showed you the use of ChatGPT, a custom edition. That's what I wanted to show you. And we were talking about custom edition. Now I still need to completely debug it because my point was that very well curated set of documents gives you better results than general ChatGPT, however smart it is. And I haven't completed that to the point of demonstration. I rely on my own feeling that yes, that's how it worked. That was what was the best. But enough of that. My next step is also to take the whole table, that same table, add a few words, add what we talked about when we looked at each of the courses. And then instead of you having to look all over, you see, that was kind of primitive way of learning. Uh, Add LLM, add AI, which will know all the courses. It took all the courses, now it can help you. You come, you ask a question. Hey, I have this problem. So you can say, give me answer from AI education spreadsheet or add your own, let's discuss. But I'm using the same approach, curated database of technologies. Well, when it's working, which should be this coming week, I will show you how it works. I'll pause for a second and I will look at the questions that were asked. Okay, AI education sheet. Yes, I'll do that. Here you are. That's AI education, right? Okay, who Steve says that AI says that I said reg was more configurable. Yeah, because it's your code. It's more work, but it's your code. ChatGPT definitely was easier because I almost didn't have to configure anything. Yes, you have to do technical work. Yes, and you have to understand what you are doing. But it was easier, and I wanted to go to the limit of what I can do by studying, as I showed you, by studying the existing examples. And I saw people having great success, but I also know that it is making advances every week. So even the latest manual or even the latest tutorial will not give you the completely correct information. Just do it. That is the best approach. That was your question, right? Okay. So let's go back now. Let's go back and share the screen again. And let's continue. So we have quite a few pieces of very interesting news. And the first was about Andrew Ng's specific product. Then we investigated custom GPT and what you can build with it. And then there was a news from Andrew Ng. Now, I will open, for that I will open the letter because there were a couple of items that were especially interesting, even though in my family nobody was excited. Okay, so they got $1 trillion together, good for them. Who cares? But let's go to the Batch. So Batch is a wonderful newsletter. Where is it? There. Sent by Andrew Ng. And he talks about his own product. That's what I kind of showed you as a demo. He also talks about that the OpenAI is on the road to $1 trillion spending. Now, uh, it's all part of, you remember, there was a Stargate program announced by the administration, the US government, that Stargate was on the order of like 500 billion. And the reaction in my family was okay, rich people get lots of money. But what was interesting is that uh, Elon Musk, who said, I know how much money they have. I kind of see their checking account, and they hardly get 100 billion. Well, it turns out that if you add, who do you add? You add Oracle and SoftBank, the famous SoftBank, which is very big and which was part of WeWork. That's where I saw it for the first time. They got together quite a bunch of money. And another interesting thing, now the rest is the same. It's big fields. They're playing 4 mega fields for that. But I think what was also interesting is that Andrew Ng said, you know what, it's a crazy thing. It's 10 times more than what the evaluation of OpenAI is. But then he added, you know what, that OpenAI under Sam Altman actually um, delivered whatever they promised. That's what he said. And if they pulled off every previous incredible bet, then maybe they will do that as well. So that's talking about it. You can all subscribe. I'm not reading you the newspaper. I'm noting the interesting things. So one of the things that Sam Altman mentioned is that his problem is not how do I grow 10%, 20% the next year. His problem is how do I uh, grow 10 times every year. Well, 10 times every year exactly agrees with your 100 billion, so you'll be a trillion next year. Okay, that's enough because let other people talk about this. Meanwhile, I'll go back. Yes, Paul says there is a technical error. 1 gigawatt would light 1 billion 1 watt LEDs. Maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not addressing these comments, but at least you can see what you are saying and take part in the discussion. What I want to do is continue. And interesting piece of news, but okay, very good. It's a whole big bet because the bet assumes that the demand for AI will grow as it is planned, and who knows. But the last thing I want to talk is, well, we still are on the fence. We don't know if there is a great example of knowledge graph. Well, of course, I want to ChatGPT because it's a helpful thing. It's no shame to consult with ChatGPT as long as you are in the driver's seat. So that's what I found out for your guys' discussion. And they pointed out an interesting thing. Let's try to open it big. The interesting thing that they open, if I am able to open it. No, I cannot. Okay, let's do this. Okay. Is I noticed that very same example as what the tutorials. You remember we have those tutorials, and the last few were all about knowledge graphs. In this case, it was Snowflake, it was also Box, and SAP, especially SAP. Okay, so let's go to the answer. And that mentioned that in fact Google Knowledge Graph is a knowledge graph by itself. Well, later on down below, we will look at more and more examples. But that example is good enough to start. What it says is that Google Knowledge Graph is a very specific application. It's kind of a quantum computer is not a computer, it's only called this way, but it's a very specific device. So, this knowledge graph is a very specific knowledge graph, and I doubt that you will have exactly the same application. Now, if we take that, we are not looking for applications to apply knowledge graphs. That won't work. We're looking for where people already build a knowledge graph for their specific problem. Then it will work. Here's an example. You look for something, and when you look for that something, you find related facts. Well, those related facts might not be part of the same document, not part of the same database. You need the connections by connection, not even by meaning, by connection. And that was an example. Okay, I think you would agree with that. I will go through all of these briefly and see if you will have something to say. So Wikidata has a knowledge graph. Again, they do want to connect. They want kind of Web3 approach. Amazon product graph. Again, very specific. You can think that if you're a consultant working for Walmart, then you probably can build a product graph for them. LinkedIn economic graph, and so on. Now you see the examples where don't go around. Don't say have a knowledge graph will travel. Say if I happen to bump into a good application, and for that you need to know the theory. You need to know what is actually is a good application. You will only bring it up when it helps. Okay, that's what my answer would be. Now I will look at the comments here and debate. Yes, thank you very much for this newsletter. It is a good newsletter, and thank you very much for the comments. So what I will do is this. Let me stop. No, not don't stop share. Let me do this. Let me stop the kind of a program because we covered all that I promised. So first of all, questions. So while I'm talking, you will be able to add additional question requests. I will put them in here, okay? And I will prepare for the next week right here. So that will be next. I'm not even trying to calculate. And then whatever it is, right? There is nothing, well, maybe, not nothing, but maybe some of that was not completely current. For example, let's add MosesGPT as a restored one. And let's make a point that curated content rules. Then I promised but haven't finished build an agent. Now, not a can you? Yes, now I know I can, but you will get something useful for a change. You will be able to, and it will be Mark AI. Yeah, you will come there and ask the questions, and based on this spreadsheet, it will give you answers. How about that? Okay, so that is it. Any more? Okay. Is it possible to add any AI agent or models you create in Google GPT on the project menu? I'm not 100% sure, Raj, what you mean, but let's do that. That's a question. Very well. And I'll try to understand. Maybe I will ask you a bit in detail, especially if you want to give me a way, Raj, to connect. Okay, and then Greg says, how to build a knowledge graph from your documents. That is how to build it into a rag on a vector DB and increase accuracy. That's a very specific, great question because, okay, maybe knowledge graph can help me, but how do I build it? So I think it's an awesome question, and let's do this. If Greg says that he doesn't know, then I believe him, and it becomes a very good question, and exactly here it goes. All right, perfect. Thank you very, very much, everybody. Okay, I think we covered everything we wanted, and you also added questions. So the last thing I will say is that we're working on the webinar just to make it nicer. So if you go to Elephant Scale, the organization of it a little bit better. If you go to webinars here, then right here you see, okay, here we are. Now what you can do is then register now. Register, I think you have, because you need the link. And if you register, you'll get a link to join. Now down below, there's previous webinar, so that's a little bit new. May, well, that's somehow not the latest, but that's a picture. Where do we see the real stuff? It must be on YouTube somewhere. No. Okay, let's register now. What happens then? You scroll down. So I think it's not 100% intuitive, but in the end, if you go to YouTube, okay, takes a little research, then I think here you do see everything with a AI picture of me, I believe. Okay, and now it says it's recent, 12 days ago, 2 weeks. So yeah, that goes according to the schedule, and I think that's better this way. So thank you very much, everybody. Thanks a lot for being here, for asking the questions. Okay. Okay, oh, everybody would be well. Have a great weekend and a great year ahead. There is a rule: somebody wishes you something good, he should have that same good. So that's what I'm wishing to you.